Welcome to the deep dive. So you shared a really fascinating set of sources with us, all kind of circling around Nassim Nicholas Taleb's big idea, anti-fragility.
Yeah, it's a powerful concept. And it's not just theory, is it? It really flips how we usually think about risk and, well, chaos.
Right.
So our mission today really is to dig into the core ideas from Taleb's work. We want to understand how things, people, businesses, whole systems can go beyond just surviving uncertainty.
And actually get better from it.
Exactly. Get stronger because of the stress, not in spite of it.
I think the real hook here is that question it forces you to ask yourself, when things get stressful, volatile, do you just try to bunker down? Or do you see that chaos as maybe an opportunity? Most of us just want things to calm down, but Taleb's point seems to be that always seeking stability might actually make things more fragile in the long run.
Precisely. And he gives that great immediate analogy, the physical one. Think about muscles. If you, say, put your arm in a cast for a month, total stability, right? The muscle just wastes away. It gets weaker, fragile.
Yeah, atrophy.
It doesn't grow from comfort. It grows from stress. You lift weights. You cause these tiny bits of damage, micro tears.
Right. Yeah.
The muscle repairs, and it comes back stronger. That ability to actually be improved by disorder, that's anti-fragility right there.
And that's a key distinction, isn't it? We're not talking about like a catastrophic injury breaking the bone.
No, absolutely not. That's fragility.
We're talking about manageable stress.
Exactly. Manageable, non-lethal stress. And Taleb is very clear about the spectrum here. It's not just fragile or not fragile.
So what are the categories?
Okay, so first you've got the fragile. Pretty straightforward. Things that break under pressure.
Like a wine glass.
A wine glass, yeah, or maybe a super optimized supply chain that just snaps at the first disruption. Any unexpected shock causes, disproportionate harm.
Okay, so that's fragile. Then what?
Then there's robust, and this is where I think most people aim their efforts, building things to last, to be resilient.
To withstand the storm, basically.
Well, robustness resists stress. Think of maybe a well-built bridge or a really old, sturdy tree. It takes the hit, it doesn't break. But, and this is the crucial point, it doesn't really change or get better because of it.
Just kind of endures, uses energy to stay the same.
Exactly. It maintains the status quo. Which leads us to the third category.
Which is the goal, anti-fragile.
Yes. The anti-fragile actually benefits from shocks, from volatility, mistakes, pressure. It gets stronger when stressed.
So Taleb's argument is that the real long-term winners, adaptable companies, thriving people, they live in this category.
That's his core thesis.
Yeah.
The aim isn't just to be unbreakable. It's to be actively improved by the unexpected.
Okay, so if that's the target, how do we actually get there? How do we shift towards being more anti-fragile? The sources mentioned a really interesting strategy for handling risk, the barbell approach.
Ah, yes, the barbell strategy. It's probably one of his most practical operational ideas for becoming anti-fragile. And it's interesting because it manages risk by avoiding the middle ground.
Which is where most people tend to operate, right? The
Yeah.
middle seems safest.
Intuitively, yes, but Taleb argues the middle is actually the most dangerous place.
Why is that? Before we get to the barbell ends.
Well, think about it. If you take medium risks, like a moderately safe investment or a job that feels secure but isn't really dynamic, you're exposed to those big unexpected shocks, the black swans.
The things that can wipe you out?
Exactly, they can ruin you. But the middle ground usually doesn't offer enough potential upside, enough high reward to make that risk worthwhile. So you're kind of stuck.
So you've got the potential for catastrophic failure, but not much chance of a massive win.
Right. Worst of both worlds, in a way. Enough risk to cause ruin, but not enough optionality, not enough potential for things to get dramatically better.
That makes sense. Exposed downside, limited upside. Okay, so let's break down the barbell itself. What are the two ends?
Okay, so imagine a physical barbell. You put the vast majority of your resources, Taleb suggests something like 80, maybe 90% at one end, in things that are extremely safe, ultra conservative.
Like what specifically?
Cash, maybe very short-term government bonds, or perhaps having a core job that's incredibly stable and low stress. This end is all about guaranteeing survival. It sets your floor. You absolutely cannot go bust.
Wait, if you hold, say, 90% in cash, aren't you fragile to other things? Like, inflation just eats away at it, right?
Yeah.
How does Taleb square that?
That's a really good question. And yes, there is that trade-off. But Taleb's hierarchy of risk puts avoiding ruin absolutely paramount. Inflation is like a slow leak, a black swan event, a market crash, that's sudden death.
Okay.
So the purpose of the safe end isn't really about maximizing returns, it's about maximizing protection from hitting zero. You accept the small, predictable erosion of inflation to eliminate the chance of a total game over collapse.
Got it. Prioritizing survival above all else.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the super safe end. What's on the other side of the barbell?
The other end, the remaining 10 or 20%, that's where you put things that are hyper risky but have potentially huge payoffs.
Like moonshots.
Exactly. Think small investments in radical startups, really speculative ventures, maybe pursuing ambitious creative projects, or learning highly unconventional skills. The chance of any single one failing is very high.
Okay.
But if just one of them hits big, the upside can be almost unlimited. A positive black swan.
So the whole strategy is lock down your survival with the safe majority, and then take lots of small, high-risk bets with the minority, where failure is okay, but success is massive.
Precisely. You insulate the safe part from the risky part. And this structure creates what Taleb calls optionality.
Meaning you have the option, but not the obligation, to benefit from positive surprises, from volatility.
Yes. If an opportunity arises from chaos, you're positioned to take advantage of it because your survival isn't tied to that risky bet succeeding. That's building anti-fragility into your finances or your career.
Yeah, because if you're totally dependent on that one medium risk path, you lose that optionality. You become fragile to changes.
Absolutely. That dependence is fragility.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about managing external risk with the barbell. What about our internal systems? The sources brought up another powerful idea, kind of from classical philosophy. Via negativa, the power of subtraction.
Yes, via negativa. It's a fascinating counterpoint to our usual instinct, isn't it? We tend to think improvement means adding things, more features, more rules, more strategies.
More apps, more productivity hacks.
Right. Taleb argues that often more reliable and robust improvement comes from removing things. Subtraction.
So instead of looking for the next great habit to add, maybe focus on the bad habits to get rid of.
That's the core idea. Think about any system, whether it's your own health or a company or even government. Over time, they tend to pile up complexity, redundancy, stuff that's just not needed anymore.
Bureaucracy creep.
Exactly. Subtraction is powerful because, frankly, we're often much better at knowing what harms us than predicting exactly what will help us. Removing known negatives, too much sugar, pointless meetings, toxic relationships, unnecessary regulations that almost always results in a net improvement, and usually with fewer nasty side effects than adding something new.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Every new thing you add, every rule, every piece of software, it's another potential point of failure, right? It can make the whole thing more brittle.
It can. Whereas removing the clutter, the noise, the known harms, that strengthens the system by simplifying it, makes it less likely to break in unexpected ways.
And I see the connection here. Subtraction only really works well if there's accountability, right? If the person making the changes or benefiting from the system feels the consequences. Which brings us to...
It's skin in the game. Yeah, it's a perfect link. Because without that accountability, without consequences, strategies like the barbell or via negativa can just become, well, abstract exercises.
They don't stick.
They don't stick. And Taleb makes a really strong case that a lot of the fragility we see in big systems, financial systems, political systems, stems directly from a lack of skin in the game.
You mean decision makers being insulated from the results of their decisions?
Precisely. Risk gets created, often on a massive scale, when the people making the choices don't bear the downside if things go wrong.
We see examples all the time. The sources mentioned a few.
Yeah, think about a policymaker who rolls out some huge new social program or regulation. If it causes chaos or economic pain down the line, are they personally affected in the same way as the people living under those rules? Usually not.
Or the classic example, the banker using other people's money.
Right, taking huge risks. If the bet pays off, they get a massive bonus. If it blows up, well, maybe there's a bailout, the taxpayer foots the bill, they get the upside, but the downside is transferred elsewhere.
So they're essentially applying the barbell strategy for themselves, taking high-risk bets for potential high reward, but they've offloaded the safe part, the consequence of ruin, onto the rest of us.
That's a great way to put it. And that misalignment, that separation of decision and consequence, it incentivizes short-term thinking and reckless behavior, which builds fragility into the whole system.
So the anti-fragile solution is what?
It's deceptively simple. You must have skin in the game. You need to be exposed personally to the outcomes of your choices.
It's not just about fairness, it's about making the system work better.
Exactly. It's an engineering principle for good decision making. If you stand to lose something real, your reputation, your money, your comfort, you'll naturally make more careful, more considered, wiser choices. You'll think longer term.
Yeah, I can see that in, like, project management. If the person setting a wildly optimistic deadline isn't the one pulling the all-nighters when it slips,
They have no incentive to be realistic.
right, that lack of skin in the game encourages fragile planning.
And notice how having skin in the game naturally pushes you towards things like the barbell strategy and via negativa. You won't take massive unhedged risks if your own neck is on the line. You won't add unnecessary complexity if you're the one who has to deal with it when it breaks.
Okay, this is all making sense. We've got the core ideas: fragile, robust, anti-fragile. We've got the barbell, via negativa, and skin in the game. How do we weave this together? How can someone listening right now start applying this, like, today?
I think the fundamental shift is moving away from constantly seeking comfort and stability and instead starting to intentionally introduce and manage beneficial kinds of stress and volatility in your life.
Okay, break that down. Starting with managing stress. How do we do that without, breaking ourselves?
Well, the most direct way is physical. Introduce manageable physical stressors that force adaptation.
Like the muscle analogy earlier.
Exactly. Resistance training, lifting weights, or things like intermittent fasting. These are small, non-lethal shocks to the system that your body adapts to, becoming stronger, more resilient. That's tangible anti-fragility you can feel.
Okay, so introduce some controlled physical stress.
Yeah.
What about in our work or careers?
That's where the barbell really comes in. Actively work to create optionality. Try to make your main income source as secure and stable as possible. That's your safe end. Protect that floor.
And then?
And then, with your remaining time or resources, aggressively pursue some high-risk, high-potential reward side projects. Learn new skills outside your core job, maybe experiment with a small business idea, explore unconventional paths. Don't get stuck only in the vulnerable middle ground.
Diversify your bets, essentially, across extremes,
Okay.
and practicing via negativa daily.
Yes. Regularly look at your life, your habits, your routines, your commitments, even the people you spend time with, and ask, what can I remove? What's adding unnecessary complexity, friction, or negativity?
What's making me fragile?
Exactly what's toxic. Cutting that stuff out, simplifying, is often far more effective for growth and resilience than adding yet another new improvement. Less is often more.
Simplify to strengthen. Got it.
Yeah.
And finally, that core principle of accountability.
Make sure in your important decisions, personally and professionally, that you have skin in the game. If you're giving advice, are you also exposed if that advice is bad? If you're building something, are you responsible for fixing it? That commitment really focuses the mind and builds genuine wisdom and resilience.
It's clear Taleb's ideas are, sometimes blunt, maybe even provocative.
Definitely provocative.
But they really do offer a kind of blueprint for navigating a world that feels increasingly unpredictable. We put so much effort into trying to predict the future or build walls against chaos. And maybe the real lesson here isn't just about how to withstand the storm, but how to actually use its energy, how to benefit from it.
That's the ultimate mind shift, I think. If you start to see volatility not just as a threat, but as information, as a catalyst, as something that can make you better, well then, disorder stops being terrifying.
It becomes fuel.
It becomes fuel for growth. You stop chasing the illusion of perfect stability and start looking for the upside in uncertainty. It flips the whole script from being a potential victim of chaos to being its beneficiary.
So let's leave everyone with that core question, the one that really gets to the heart of this deep dive, something to think about long after we finish talking. So are you living a fragile, robust, or anti-fragile life? The answer may determine how well you not only survive, but thrive in the years ahead.